2020 June 11. Daily Bread Passage. Genesis chapter 47 verse 1–12. Keyverse. Verse 10. Title: The Israelites settle in Egypt. Bible passage. Joseph went and told Pharaoh, "My father and brothers, with their flocks and herds and everything they own, have come from the land of Canaan and are now in Goshen." He chose 5 of his brothers and presented them before Pharaoh. Pharaoh asked the brothers, "What is your occupation?" "Your servants are shepherds," they replied to Pharaoh, "just as our fathers were." They also said to him, "We have come to live here for a while, because the famine is severe in Canaan and your servants' flocks have no pasture. So now, please let your servants settle in Goshen." Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Your father and your brothers have come to you. And the land of Egypt is before you. Settle your father and your brothers in the best part of the land. Let them live in Goshen. And if you know of any among them with special ability, put them in charge of my own livestock." Then Joseph brought his father Jacob in and presented him before Pharaoh. After Jacob blessed Pharaoh. Pharaoh asked him, "How old are you?" And Jacob said to Pharaoh, "The years of my pilgrimage are 130. My years have been few and difficult, and they do not equal the years of the pilgrimage of my fathers." Then Jacob blessed Pharaoh and went out from his presence. So Joseph settled his father and his brothers in Egypt and gave them property in the best part of the land, the district of Ramesses, as Pharaoh directed. Joseph also provided his father and his brothers and all his father's household with food, according to the number of their children. Daily Bread Message. 1. Settling in Goshen, Joseph brought his brothers to meet Pharaoh. They came with their flocks and presented themselves as shepherds. Since the Egyptians despised shepherds, they were allowed to live separately from the Egyptians. They had not come to settle permanently, but only for a while, until God brought them back to the land He promised them, so even though they settled in Egypt, they were able to maintain their identity as God's people. 2. Jacob's life, a pilgrimage. Joseph then brought his aged father to meet Pharaoh. Jacob was old and weak, but he was able to bless Pharaoh. He testified that his life was a pilgrimage, just like his father's. His blessing was his confession that he belonged to God. His life was not for settling anywhere in this world, but a pilgrimage that ended in God. Prayer. Lord, protect me from settling down in this world. Help me to live as a pilgrim and seeker of your promise until I meet you. One word. A pilgrimage to God.